Hello people, A Chunk here. Today I am kicking off a new series that I'm calling Brick by Brick, which will follow a map through each stage of its construction. Sit tight and I'll be back in just a few moments to introduce my first Halo 5 Forge project and show you where it's at in the building process.
Right about now, A Chunk Show Brother. Check it out now, A Chunk Show Brother.
Welcome back. So my goal with this series is to share my map design process from beginning to end. We'll be following the progress of my first Halo 5 Forge map, which I'm currently calling Vessel. Those of you who've been watching my map previews will recognize this map as the map that was previously named Autumn. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, I will be leaving a link to the Autumn preview video in the description below. Before we go any further, I want to take a step back and talk about how I got the idea for this map. A couple of months ago, I was browsing through a custom Quake map site called LVL World. If you have any interest in level design, I strongly recommend you check it out. It's just www.lvlworld.com. Anyway, as I was browsing through the site, I came across a map called Gold Leaf by Pat Howard. For whatever reason, I fell in love with the design immediately. I loved the look and shape of the map. I loved the overlap and verticality. Probably what drew me to it most, though, was the fact that I could really see it working well in Halo, which isn't something I can usually say for Quake maps. Taking the basic shape and layout of Gold Leaf, I went into Halo 2 Anniversary Forge and began molding it into something that I felt would play well in Halo. I simplified the flow by reducing the number of movement options. I also adjusted lines of sight to fit better with Halo's health and shield system by opening up the main atriums and by reducing the amount of overlap, and voila! Autumn was brought to life. Fast forward to Halo 5 Forge. Beautiful Halo 5 Forge. By the time Halo 5 Forge released, I had 8 or 9 solid designs ready, and I was having some difficulty deciding which one to start with. After taking some time to get familiar with the new controls and the new pieces, I decided that it was probably best to begin by tackling the simplest design I had, so that I could continue getting used to all the new stuff, and so I'd have the ability to really focus on the map's appearance. At that point, Autumn, which is now called Vessel, really became the obvious choice. Step 1 for me in the forging process is always to build a basic blockout version of the map. If you've been following the forging scene recently, you may have noticed that a lot of forgers have adopted the term mass out, which is more commonly used by people that use PC level design software like Unreal, Unity, Maya, etc. Whenever someone refers to a blockout or mass out, they're actually referring to a version of the design that's built out of the most basic materials. And it usually doesn't have very much or even any aesthetic detail on it. The main advantage of doing a blockout version of your map is that it's much easier to change the geometry. With how advanced we can make the visuals in this Forge compared to previous versions of Forge, we can potentially spend an enormous amount of time on the visuals on our maps. Generally, I feel like I'm less likely to change something that I've spent a lot of time working on, even if the playtest suggests that something should be changed. I think it's just human nature to not want to discard something that you've invested a lot of time into. When you combine that with the fact that it's always very likely that changes will need to be made to a layout, the benefits of starting out with a blackout version of your map become pretty obvious, I think. So that's where I am right now. I am at the blackout stage. I'm probably about 30% of the way done at this point. I expect to finish it up over the course of the next week or so, and at that point I'll probably put out another video to show what the final blackout looks like. Before I go, I want to talk briefly about map theme. As I mentioned earlier, the name of the map has changed from Autumn to Vessel, and the main reason behind that change is because of the theme of the map. Even though I'm doing just a blackout version right now, I've definitely given some thought to what the end product will look like. And my plan right now is to have the setting of the map be the inside of a spaceship. Not the most original idea ever, I know, but that's what I'm going with. So just as a test to make sure that a spaceship theme is possible, I spent about 15 minutes putting together a sample palette, and I'm going to show you guys what I came up with. Now, there's a decent chance that I could end up going with something completely different than what you see here, but I thought this looked pretty cool. This is really easy to put together, so feel free to steal it. It's just a combination of breakout blocks, cylinder pieces, and lights. That's it for episode 1. Thank you for watching. Later, people.